So let's start with breathing for a couple of times, then maybe meditate for a second. Inhale with from nose and exhale from mouth. Just relax your body and be here at the present moment. Nothing else we need to think about at this moment except us, only two people and the conversation. And get connected with yourself. Make sure your feet are grounded on the earth. Make sure that our shoulders are relaxed. And feel how you're feeling, or let's feel how we are feeling in our heart. And touch your heart and be connected with your right hand. Just breathe deep. Be true to yourself. One. Ready? We'll open eyes slowly. Good morning. Good
Very
afternoon,
good.
my friend.
Good afternoon, Suresh.
Yeah.
Good to be
So
here.
I'm so excited to be with you here, even though I see you every week or at least a couple of times a week. But I have known you for 17 years approximately, probably. I first met you in
Yes.
2008 in charitable diversity focus event. And I was so impressed because you gave a quick remark. Then I came and talked to you, and ever since we became friends. So, and still today, you're still working hard for nonprofits. So, I wondering, and if you can tell us a little bit about why nonprofit is a big part of your life.
Well, thank you for the question, Suresh. And yes, great to be here exchanging ideas with you about some common topics that we have. And one of those common topics that you and I have is helping others in general. Your profession leads you to help people, help them in many ways, planning for their future. And my profession as an engineer, I always had the idea of using technology to help people. So, because of that, I always, in whatever company I was working, always got involved with groups in the community. And why? Because I believe that we all are interconnected. We all are part of this journey. Sometimes we disagree on the way we do things, but we are part of the journey and we are growing together. And in the same way that you know a lot about finance and investing, I know a lot about technology and engineering. we can use that knowledge to help other people that don't have a lot of experience on that. And because of that, I always found ways of working with the community. And then there are nonprofit organizations, several of them, that do very worldwide activities. And they always need help and they always need new ideas. And that's why I always try to get connected with them and work with them. And yes, I've been in that mode, I think, since even before I came to this country. Even in my native Colombia, I had the opportunity to work with a couple of nonprofits. So it has been a lifelong involvement and commitment, not only
Mm.
being involved, but being committed to the
Mhm.
objectives and the goals of those
Mhm.
organizations.
Mm. Oh, thank you. Since you just mentioned you're native of Colombia, and can you bring us back to your childhood and see how it was like growing up in Colombia, and then how you and why you came to US?
Sure, yes. And I will say that I have been blessed by life. I've been I've had a privileged life. And by that I don't mean that my family had a lot of economic status, high status, or a lot of
Mhm.
money, because we did not. My parents both come from very humble beginnings, very humble families, and they both got started in life working, getting an income kind of late in life. So there was not a lot of money to spare in during my upbringing. But I say that we were rich because we had everything we needed. I was never hungry. I was never halfway dressed. I always had clothes, not the fancy ones that other kids would have, but I had what I needed. I always had a roof, even though the first place that I remember was a tiny one bedroom apartment with a tiny kitchen. And there were my father, my mother, my brother, who is 4 years older than I am, and myself. But we were together. We had a, the warmth that the family brings. So, yes, I had everything I needed. What that made me a rich kid. Of course, yes, you go to school and then you see other kids with nicer tennis shoes and nicer clothes, and you say, well, I wish I had that. Yeah, but I didn't. And okay, that was fine. So, anyway, through the years, I went through school, and in Colombia at that time, in the 19 late 60s, early 70s, life was not as violent as it became in the 1990s, for instance, which is the news that most people in the rest of the world hear. But it was a good life. It was a good life, good education. I was able to finish my high school, was able to go to a
Mhm.
private university, private college.
Mm.
That is not easy. It is very expensive. My parents got in debt to pay for my school, because my schooling, because that is the custom in our culture. Parents pay for the education of children, which for many Americans that is a not very common practice. So anyway, I was able to graduate as an industrial engineer, then worked a couple of times for a nice company in Colombia. At the time, as I said, I was helping a nonprofit as well. But then I had the opportunity to come to the States to get my master's and my PhD in engineering, which is what I did. So I came to
Mm.
the States just to study. I thought
Mm.
2 years for a master's or 4 or 5 years for a PhD. Fortunately, life has other plans. I fell in love with a beautiful Texan woman, and we will celebrate our 40th anniversary this month of May on the 20th. Presents
Congratulations.
are welcome. Presents are accepted.
Congratulations. That's amazing. So I hear a little bit about your wife, how you met. Tell us how did you meet her?
Ooh, this is being recorded. I don't know that I can tell the full story, but the gist of it is I needed to take some English classes at that time in 1983, correct. And so I went to the University of Houston Learning Center, and they had an English program. And there was a class in this program named Intercultural Communication. And I found that very
Oh.
interesting. So
Hmm.
I signed up, and there were several teachers there, but there was one particularly good and excellent. So we started talking. She spoke Spanish as well, so we started exchanging some
Mm.
messages in Spanish and talking, and one thing led to another, then to a cup of coffee, then to other things, to talk about other things, and that's how everything started. The teacher
Ah,
and the student.
that is always a
when
hope.
when 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 the student is ready, the teacher appears. How is it? So I was ready.
That's such a
She showed up.
that's such a cute story. Share the meaning of money when you were growing up. What meant and how it felt to have money or not having money. What was the meaning of money for you?
Yes, when you don't have a lot of something and you think it is important, you become very careful about how you use or don't use that something. In this case, you are asking me about money. So, yes, my family, my parents did not have a lot of money. I remember as if it was yesterday how often they had to borrow money from friends to cover all the bills.
Mm.
And I don't know, for some reason, in my teenage years, the teenage years, my parents trusted me so much on my looking and use of money that they always asked me to balance the checkbook. I know that is an old concept. People don't do that
Uh-huh.
anymore. But
Yes.
we did do the paper and calculator balancing the check registry. And I did that for them. And we would review it, and they would say, okay, well, it seems like this month we're going to be short by this much. So they would go and borrow. Other months they would be okay. They would pay their debts. And that was now I see it as a very great opportunity for my upbringing and for my
Mm-hmm.
belief on how
Mm-hmm.
to use money as a
Mm-hmm.
resource and not
Mm-hmm.
not becoming dependent on money. So I think that gave me that background of yes, money is important. Let's be careful with it, but let's plan on how we're going to use it as a resource to reach other more important and enduring goals. And I'm realizing this now in my 60s. This is not something that I was thinking about while I was doing
Mm.
my career and my plans
Mm-hmm.
professional growth and all that. But as you know, when we met, we started talking about goals. We started looking
Mm-hmm.
about what savings I had, how I was planning to continue saving. And thank goodness, and thanks to your company, I am in a very comfortable situation for retirement. No, I am not rich. No, but yes, I am. I have everything I need and more.
Oh, that's a great way to find meaning in a way that you feel comfortable. And I remember talking about you wanted to not retire really early because you really enjoyed your work very much. But why did you decide to retire early, and how you're able to afford to retire early?
Yes, well, the why retiring was more brought in by this huge 2020 event. Uh, I think most people's lives changed in one way or another because of the pandemic that we all experienced. At that year, my father was going to turn 90, and my company, which the last company that I worked for, that makes equipment to navigate and to fly aircraft, commercial aircraft, my company thought that the commercial side of the business was going to collapse because of the pandemic.
Mm,
Nobody was traveling, companies were not buying equipment. Therefore, the company
mm,
offered a package for early retirement. I talked to my wife and she said, "Hey, take it. We don't know if your father will make it through this pandemic. And we don't want to, in a year, we don't want to be saying, we are still employed and I
mm,
never saw my dad." Or
mm,
we will say, "Hey, we could spend
mm,
more time with dad. And if we need to work, we will come back and get work, continue working,
mm,
find jobs." We didn't know what was going to happen. So that was the decision.
mm.
That was the why. And you know what? My father is going to turn 94 next month. He's still
Next
around.
month?
Next month, yes. Exactly in 1 month.
94?
June
Oh, wow.
1st. Yes. And okay, yes,
Hmm.
I retired, but then I had the opportunity to go 3, 4 times a year to Colombia and spend time with my father. So fortunately, he made it through COVID. He did get COVID after the vaccines, so
Mm,
he had gotten the vaccines, so it was not too bad for him. And I will be there celebrating his 94th.
mm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Wow, that's amazing. So
So
you guys
and
have a
that
really
is,
good.
yeah, excuse me, and that is one great thing to take away. It is, you have to plan for many things, like I planned for my retirement, not necessarily thinking I'm going to have this amount of money to retire, but to be able to make decisions at one moment in life when things are changing. So I was fortunate that, yes, working with you, Suresh, we had made good plans on investments, and I knew
Mm,
that I could afford retirement. And because of that, I was able to spend something more important, time with my father, who is in Colombia, by the way, for those of you listening to this podcast. So I've been away from my parents all these 40 years. Yes, I go and visit every year and Christmas, and now I go a lot more often, but I had been away all this time. So being able to have enough economic financial security to retire gave me that much more important opportunity to spend time with my father. And I only talk about my father because my mother passed 10 years ago. So I did not have the same opportunity to spend more meaningful time with her.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
that is why we and you, Suresh, you are doing a great job at educating people about planning, the importance of planning. Gives a lot of power to make decisions and be flexible, change plans when you need to, change course when you need to.
Yeah,
So
yeah. No, that's really important. One of the tools in life, based on my experience, and also I'm still learning, but people who have good planning and they execute, it gives them a lot of more options in life and flexibility, and they can make also quick decisions because they have all the information to make the decision whether retire now or maybe buy a car now or maybe wait or how to pay for children's education, so many things. So I'm glad that you
yeah,
pursued that path.
and as I've heard you say before, I mean, the successful people are not just, as you just mentioned, it's not just good karma. It is not just good luck. It requires some planning, some discipline, and some consistency. And the daily choices you make are the ones that allow you to build that future. So discipline, consistency, and daily choices, they all go together. And if you are consistent and you see that you are succeeding in little things, then big things, that that's evidence that you yourself see, and that evidence always builds hope for the future. You know that whatever happens, you will find ways of overcoming those difficulties.
After you finish your PhD, what did you do right after that? What did you work for a company, or how was your life like?
Oh, yes, that was back in 1993. Mhm. We were in Colorado, in Boulder. So I worked there for a small company that would make batteries, uh, small batteries. So I was director of engineering there for a couple of years. And then at that time, the University of Iowa invited my wife to come and do some lecturing. And then they liked each other, and then they made an offer to my wife. And that is the main reason we moved and we came to Iowa. So at that time, as I said, we moved with two children that we had at the moment, and started our life and our journey here in Iowa. That was 29 years ago. So now I have lived in Iowa 4 years longer than I lived in Colombia.
Oh, oh, really?
29 years in Iowa, only 25 in
29?
Colombia. 29 years in
29
Iowa.
years in Iowa?
Yeah,
Really?
right.
Oh, huh.
Summer of 1995
Um,
is when we moved here.
hmm. Did you work for Boeing before you went to Iowa,
Oh,
or?
yes. If you remember, before I went back to, remember, I got my master's in Houston, Texas. From Houston, we moved to Seattle, where I worked for Boeing. And then working for Boeing, I got an opportunity, a grant, some money to go back to school and in Colorado, and then is where I got my PhD in Colorado. But yes, I had the
Uh,
good fortune of working with Boeing in Seattle
mm,
for like 4 or 5 years, and
Mm,
then I
mm,
took an educational leave of absence to go back to school, and that's what I did. But then
mm,
I never
mm,
went back to Boeing to work
mhm,
directly with Boeing, because when I started working with Rockwell Collins, was the name of the company here in Iowa. This company, as I said, makes equipment for aircraft navigation. So
mm.
we sold product to Boeing and to many other air, aircraft manufacturers. So I had to go and work with Boeing, representing our products in many instances. So Boeing and I have always been connected through the years.
Either working for Boeing or representing and talk to Boeing about your company. So anyway, you are always part of involved with the Boeing.
That is right. And yes, and
Uh-huh.
despite the problems the company has had that have been very well uh,
Mm,
publicized
mhm,
in the media,
mm.
it is a fantastic company, great company
Yeah,
to work for.
sure, sure. How was you both work for Boeing and Collins, Rockwell Collins now is Raytheon Technology, that company. You're also
Yeah.
part of that. So what were some of the challenges working for big corporations and also coming from Colombia as an immigrant? What were
Hmm.
some of the challenges in your professional growth?
Ah, wow. Are you sure we have enough time for this to answer this question?
One or
I
two
could
or
go
three?
on and on, but not only about the challenges, because there are great
Yes,
opportunities. I believe you
of course. Yeah,
make
yeah.
you
Yes.
make your environment. Yes,
Mm,
you are always going to have roadblocks. Yes, you're always going to have naysayers and negative people around anywhere,
mm,
any company,
mm,
any culture, any country. But I, you make the opportunities. You create the opportunities. You you need to know yourself and understand yourself before you can try to understand others. I read somewhere somebody very smart say, to understand yourself, use your head. To understand others, use your heart. And I think that is very important.
mm,
So, to answer your question, challenges. Yes, there's a cultural difference of coming from a small country, economically speaking, small country of Colombia, with a culture where there's a lot of reliance on
mm,
the group helping each other.
mhm,
Very different to coming to the United States and working for large companies like Boeing and, as you mentioned, Raytheon, huge companies where the group is not as important as the individual is. The individual effort is more recognized and valued. And those are individuals that are always looked at for growth within the corporation. I think any company you look at, where you look at the top senior leadership, you see the so called type A leaders,
mm,
the outgoers, the ones that do it all themselves, that yes, they use the team, but it is their objective, the one that needs to be supported. And those are the people that are looked at as role models. So for me, as someone that relies more on the team, that was a challenge. It was a challenge to try to change to that type of leadership, which I never did. I was never, I guess I didn't want to. I preferred to be a team member, even when I was a manager, I prefer to see myself as a team member rather than the type A leader. So that becomes a challenge because, I mean, we are humans. And I did resent being passed on by when there were promotions. I knew that it was not because of my skills, because my skills were recognized many times as employee of the year and this award and this other and those kind of things. But in terms of promotion to higher level in the hierarchy, I didn't get as high as others, type A leaders, as they got. And yes, I resented that. I am not going to say that it didn't bother me. But I always thought, well, what is important? What is status important? And I really sat down and meditated about that. Is
Mm.
status important to me? And I said yes. The answer was yes, it is. But is it more important than the time you can spend with your children going to soccer games, going to dance shows, to show
Mm.
choir? Some of these high level leaders, some do not have the time to enjoy those little things in lives. But to me, those little things were the big things. Those were the things that gave meaning to my life as a father, gave meaning to me as an immigrant, because I could be a role model showing you can be a successful engineer, a successful parent, and a successful contributor to the community. Those things were more important. And I think I've been able to do that. I am satisfied. Would I be more satisfied if I were the vice president of engineering of a large corporation? I don't know. I do not know.
Mm.
And I will never find out because I am not going to become one.
You're already retired. So.
That is right.
Oh
But I
yeah,
could
yeah.
start my own
Hmm.
company and become the president of my engineering company. If
Oh,
that,
that's
if
true.
and that is true. And if that was something important to me to be,
Mm.
call it the top dog of a company,
Hmm.
well, there will be ways. You
Hmm.
could start
Hmm.
your very own business and be
Hmm.
the sole decision maker.
Hmm.
But that is not my goal. That was not, and it is not at this time in my life.
Hmm. Mm. You have done a lot of work for nonprofits or mentoring people. When I met you and when we had a conversations about what's important about money or why money is important, you always came back to the point that you wanted to help younger professionals or even students. And that has never gone away. And you're still trying to help so many people, younger people, both in Colombia and here in the US. Share your experience, what it means to you helping young professionals or students. You're involved in some projects in Colombia, also here in Iowa.
Yes, I've been very fortunate that I've been able to do all that. And when you talk to me about these recordings and about talking about meaning of life and meaning of love and meaning of money, I said, well, I think I found in a way a meaning in life.
Mm.
And that meaning has been helping others. No, I am not the kind of person that spends 24 hours a day helping people. No, I am not the kind of person that takes his coat off and give it to a naked person
Mm.
in the street, to a homeless person. No, I am not that kind of
Mm.
helping or helpful individual.
Mm.
But I do believe that you need to help others grow and learn
Mm.
new things. I don't know if you are familiar with the work and the writing work of the Colombian Nobel Prize Gabriel Garcia Marquez. He wrote in one of his novels something that had stuck with me. He said, don't remember exactly, he was talking about kids growing and people needing some help. And he said, one of the characters in his novel said, humanity is like an army. It advances at the pace of the slowest. And if you think about
At
it,
the pace of what?
the slowest, the slowest
Oh, so
soldier, the one
mhm.
that walks and marches more
Yes.
slowly, that
Yeah.
is the one that is really setting the pace of the army.
Mm.
So you want to advance
Ah,
fast, get that person or that soldier to
go
move
fast.
faster. And okay, there are ways you can push that person, you can put that
Mm.
person on a bike, on a
I love
horse.
that
I mean,
analogy. Yes.
yes, and that is true. If we don't educate our kids to gain new skills and learn faster, we all, the society, gets slowed down. If we have
Mm.
our immigrants behind,
Mhm.
if we leave them behind, if we don't help immigrants in this country advance faster, they are going to slow the community down. Just look anywhere, any city, any town, that will happen. And that creates conflict. So the way I am helping is educating those children, demonstrating to them, especially in STEM, science,
Mm.
technology, engineering, and math, STEM disciplines. I love to go to schools, especially schools in underfunded neighborhoods, and show these kids that people that look like this can become engineers. That you don't have to be smart. You just need to be disciplined and be consistent and do your daily homework. Just do it. And I would show them examples and things and play with them, showing them the beauty of the physical laws of nature.
Mm.
And I had a lot of fun. So, since I was having fun, I was doing it as often as people would let me do it. And yes, as a member of the Society of Hispanic Professional Engineers, and then as a member in my companies where I worked, of the groups that want of employees that want to go and do this kind of work in the community, I always volunteer to do it. Now that I don't have a company, an employer, I still do it
Mm.
in a different way, but I still
Mhm.
go and teach some classes on financial literacy because nobody
Mhm.
teaches that in school.
Mhm.
I, with the help of your company, Suresh, I sponsor scholarships for high school students that we give out at a given time of September in a Latino festival that we organize in Cedar Rapids. And we do that with a lot of volunteers that want to put in the time and help. And the same thing now that I have a bit more time, we are supporting students in Colombia, in a school in Medellin. We created a gastronomy, a cooking gastronomy program that is now Took us 2 years, but it is now set up and running and approved by the school district of that area of Medellin. And it doesn't cost the students anything to go through that program and get a certificate in culinary. Who thought we could do that? And we did it. So
Yeah.
there are a lot of kids that do not have other opportunities for education, that do not have other opportunities to go to college or to get a technical
Mm,
degree or something like that. They can go through that program while they are going through school, high school, and
mhm,
get a certificate in culinary. Who
mm.
knows? We may find someday a chef from Medellin out of our program that will get a Michelin star. Why not? Everything is
Yeah,
possible.
I love food.
There you go.
I can eat any good food from anywhere in the world. And of course, yeah.
And I do have a plan. Well, right
Hmm.
now, a goal, a dream, which is to start another project of similar impact in a school in Nepal, in your home
Mm,
country, Suresh. We are going to do that. We will start thinking about the how and the
hmm,
strategy and
hmm,
the plan of action soon
hmm.
because
That
we
sounds
can do it.
great. That sounds great.
We can do it.
Yes. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you. You've been talking about compassion to be an important value in life. Can you share us, your perspective on that?
Yeah, yes, yes, yes. Happy to do that because I will have to repeat everything that I have said. Because what is compassion? Compassion is the way that I understand it and I try to live it is to really understand the pain of somebody and to act to alleviate that pain. And yes, I cannot solve the problems of the world. No, I cannot solve world hunger, but I understand the pain of not having good education. I understand the pain of not having opportunities for growth and opportunities to reach new highs, new goals, new objectives. I understand that. And because I understand that, I act. I act on
Mm,
helping with education. I
hmm,
I understand that and act by providing scholarships that I, by the way, I, from my own pocket, I have given very little money to scholarships. But I have always worked with organizations to donate, and I have been giving out scholarships since 1998. Every year, we've been giving scholarships to students that want to pursue more education after high school. And
hmm,
it is not the amount of money you're giving them, it's the recognition. It is here's this check because you deserve it, because you have done things that are meaningful. Here is this money to help you go further. So I am acting not out of pity, you act out of compassion. You
hmm,
understand the pain, you understand the limitations, and you do something to help those people get by their own means, by their own work, get to a better place where they can launch their new future.
hmm,
And that
hmm,
doesn't take a lot of effort, doesn't take a lot of time. It does take consistency and it does take discipline to do it. And you need to do something every day, a little bit. Take little steps. And if you start moving faster, you will help humanity, like any army, to move faster. And we will change our communities by really
Yeah.
working in that manner.
Mm. Mm. Such a powerful message. Thank you for sharing your story. And we can spend the next couple of days just talking about other stuff and your more stories, but we'll continue our conversation in our next episode. Maybe today we'll close out our conversation. Is there something you want to share with the audience that feel important to you?
I really think that you're doing a great job by having this kind of conversations going, because I believe even if we do not share the same views, we need to do some civil and civilized conversation. And by talking about all these concepts of meaning, meaning of life, meaning of money, meaning of love, we can really disagree on the what we think that meaning is, but we can share and we can discuss. And I invite anyone who listens to this conversation to do the same, to either do it in their communities, talk to the people that disagree with you, but talk, don't fight. Talk with the ones that you disagree with. Because if you only talk to the ones that you agree with, how are you challenging your thoughts? How are you growing? If you lift weights only 5 pounds because you can do it, you're not going to get stronger. You get stronger if you lift weights that are challenging. So if you want to grow your mind and your beliefs, you gotta challenge them. And you challenge them by having civilized conversations
Mm.
with people that disagree with you. So that is my invitation. People,
Thank you.
bring
Thank you.
your ideas forward. And if you disagree, bring them forward. And let's have
Mm,
that wonderful,
mm,
enriching conversation.
mm, That's why I like your title these days, Compassionate Leadership Leader. Compassionate Leader. That's what I would call you.
Thank you. Thank you. I do want to I
So
do want to live
thank
that
you
life.
for sharing your life stories with us. Maybe now we can close out. Maybe we'll just do closing with 30 seconds meditation and then we'll go out and do good things to the world.
Sounds
Okay.
great.
We'll close our eyes. Don't forget to breathe in and breathe out. Make sure that your feet are touching the earth and you feel grounded. Make sure that your shoulders are relaxed, your body is relaxed. Listen to your own body. Listen to the heart. Thank you for your time. I'm grateful to connect with you today. And let's have a good intention for the rest of the world and do good things wherever and whenever we can do. Thank you again.